then we will get started. All right, so the chair calls GA3 to order at 9:23 UTC +8 Bali time. First up, roll call of member organizations. Eunice.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, for local, we will try to say good morning in your language, but instead not close. So, I'm based in Denmark.
The mute's wrong. Denmark, right? Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning
Danish.
in language.
Oh, good morning. Morn. Yes.
I guess in Germany.
Good morning!
I guess in Ghana. I guess in Ghana. I guess in India. I guess in Indonesia. I guess in Ireland. I guess in Italy.
Buongiorno.
I guess in Malaysia. I guess in Malaysia. I guess in Morocco.
Spachet.
I guess in Nepal.
Sugopiani.
I guess in Peru. I guess in Peru. I guess in Philippines. I guess in Philippines. I guess in Poland. I guess in Portugal. I guess in Slovenia.
Доброе утро.
I guess in Slovakia. I guess in South Korea.
Buonasera.
I guess in Sweden. I guess in Taiwan.
Gaza.
I guess in Thailand. I guess in Netherlands.
Good morning.
I guess in Turkey.
United.
I guess in USA.
Rise and shine.
Okay, so we are at 47.62, so we have four.
Awesome. I just received a message that the last bus has arrived, so they'll be coming in soon. But we'll continue in the meantime. So next point on the agenda, nominations for president for upcoming term. Are there any nominations? Seeing slower.
Nabil El Habib IVSA in Morocco. I would like to nominate Felix as the president of 2024.
Can you please tell me his last name and his MO?
I can say Germany, but
Let's go. Yes.
Open nominee for example now.
Felix, do you accept?
Felix Metzger, IVSA Germany, pity number 35, I accept.
Seeing none, nominations are now closed and will be open again next year. Next point are the nominations for secretariat position. Are there any nominations? Seeing none, nominations are now closed and will be open again in the next GA. Next point is nominations for the 74th IVSA Conference here in Helpaway. Are there any nominations? Seeing none, nominations are now closed, will be open again next GA. Next one is 74th IVSA Symposium, 2 years away. Are there any nominations? Seeing none, surprisingly, nominations are now closed and will be open again in the next meeting. So then we'll move on to the next point on our agenda, which is the member fee change proposal. And for that, I would like to call on Tessa to present.
Thank you. Back to my computer. Yes. Okay, there we are. Tessa van Dijnen, IVSA Exco. I'm going to talk to you about the membership fee change proposal, which is about the membership fee as it says in the membership term. So I'll quickly explain it. As you know, we're now voting on president, but the president will only start the term at the 1st of September. That's because the IVSA official's term is from the 1st of September to the 31st of August. That's written here. However, in our bylaws, it is also written that our membership term, and with membership I mean the MO, so that is you, that the term of the membership starts on the 1st of February and ends on the 31st of January. That's not the same. That is quite confusing, and this misalignment causes a lot of confusion and also makes it more difficult to align the financial year of RMOs with the financial year of RMC Global, which for me as treasurer is very confusing and has been causing a lot of treasurers some issues. However, it's also for our members very confusing since they have to pay a membership fee, but during which term. So that is what we want to improve. And I'll quickly wait while people are looking.
Yes, let's have a quick stand at ease. So Chair would like to entertain a motion to stand at ease for 10 minutes so everybody can easily sit down.
On the IVSA Exco meeting number 10, I so move.
Is there any discussion? Are there any objections? We're at stand at ease for 10 minutes. Please take that sit down. We're still missing Peru. They were not on the bus? Oh, okay. Quick, mic check. Switch. Okay, yeah, please sit down. So I will close the stand at ease, and the chair would like to recognize the President of the Philippines, just going, and then just like continue.
Hello everyone, Tessa van Dijnen, IVSA Exco meeting number 7. I'll just start again because that's easier. As I said earlier, we're going to talk about the membership fee change and the membership term change. The IVSA officials term starts every year on the 1st of September and ends on the 31st of August. We're already voting on our president-elect because they have some time to get used to it, but we will only vote on the officials team in Congress, and they start on the 1st of September. However, in our bylaws, it states that members, so including member organizations, which means all of you, that the term of the member starts on the 1st of February and ends on the 31st of January. This is not the same, and this misalignment is causing quite a lot of confusion and makes it also difficult for me, the treasurer, and for previous treasurers to get the finances regarding membership fee mainly to get that in order. And for members, it's very confusing when they have to pay their membership fee, because sometimes it says the membership term, sometimes we use the term of the IVSA officials, and it's just a bit of a mess, to be honest. So I want to change that to make it more efficient, to make it better explainable to our lovely members, and to make it way easier. So, the problems, as I said, confusion, bookkeeping, and I'm still receiving membership fees from the past year, which is sort of this year because it's not yet the 31st of January, and lots of chaos. I don't like chaos. I like order. So, what do we want to do? I want to propose a bylaw amendment that is going to give us a clear membership fee payment system. And to do this, I want to align the IVSA officials term with the membership term. And hopefully, and to do this, we need to make sure that there's a smooth transition to the new term, because we will be switching from the current term to the next. So how are we going to do that? Well, the goal is to change the membership term, to change it so it starts on the 1st of September instead of the 1st of February. But like I said, we need a transition period, because otherwise there's going to be more chaos and I'll still be sad. So in February 2024, which is in a few weeks, I will start collecting the membership fee for the IVSA officials term 2023-2024. Wait, sorry, I'll say one thing first. This is assuming you are agreeing to the bylaw amendment, so I'm just already proposing what I would love to do if you agree to changing membership term. If we do that, we need to have a transition period, and in that case, the membership fee would be about the 2023-2024 term, which is this year. If we look at September to August, that's this year, and we haven't yet started collecting membership fee for this term. However, the previous membership fee you paid was for 2023 and January 2024. So there are 7 months in between, from February up to September. So we need a GA resolution to change that. And because we are very nice, and I hope that you will accept this bylaw amendment, we're like, you don't need to pay for 7 months, you only need to pay for 6 months. So that's 1 month free IVSA membership. Yay, money! Thank you, I like it. People are happy about money. Okay, so in September 2024, okay, I'll give you a moment to try to do this. I saw people doing it, so then they're busy. Yeah. Okay, you've started off, great. However, after that 1 free month, you will in September need to pay for a full year again. So in September, October, we will start collecting membership fee for the next term, which is 2024 to 2025, which is the same as the IVSA officials and the MOs. So after that, everything's going to be smooth and easy and great. So what to do? We need to approve a GA resolution. That's going to say that you only have to pay for 6 months. And we need to approve 2 bylaw amendments. Why 2? One is to change the term, like to change the February and to September, but also we need to change when the MO pays half fee, because we have another part in our bylaws saying if someone becomes a member at the moment at Congress, they only need to pay for half a year, because they will only be a member for half a year. But if you change the membership term, we should also change when the half term starts. So that's 2 bylaw amendments that we're going to go through now. So first up, GA resolution. And I think it's good to ask for questions now. What do you know? Sorry. Okay, so I move to accept the following GA resolution, which you can also agree, that it is decided when the proposed bylaw amendments. Okay, so I'll first start with explaining the amendments, and then I'll go to the GA resolution, which is not the order we're going to vote in, but it's a bit easier to read now. So the first thing I want to change is, as you see written here, the strike out part is how we have it written now, and the next red part is what I want to change. Oh, you see my mouse. Oh, that's awesome. So it's a very short bylaw amendment. I want to, in this part of the bylaws, 11.5, I want to change February to September, and I want to change January to August, which is the same as the term of the IVSA officials. So that would be bylaw amendment number 1. And then this is bylaw amendment number 2, which is in 11.1.2, in case you want to look at it yourself. And that says that any member organization accepted by the General Assembly held at first in Congress, and it will be at the Symposium, because that will be all the way the term, they will pay an amount equal to half of the membership, the annual membership fee. So those are the 2 bylaw amendments. So please raise your hands if you have any questions about the wording, about why I want to do this, like anything.
On the Dutch IVSA Expo meeting number 10, this is not a question, this is just fill it in a bit more why the amendments were explained, and we had this bit of miscommunication here is the idea is that we need to understand what we want to do with amendments, and then we are reading GA resolution. And now we need to explain what GA resolution is because we didn't talk about it before. So GA resolution is basically a decision that we all make, actually no, GA, so you all make here. We propose it, the executive committee proposes it, we'll show you how it looks, and you accept it, and then it supersedes the bylaws. So in order to make changes that are not according to the bylaws, but we do accept them, we need a GA resolution. I hope that makes sense. Since if we change the bylaws to say what Tessa proposed, we would not know what to do with the membership fee of this term. We need to propose GA resolution to do this only 6-month payment. I hope that's better, clearer right now. But if it's not, ask, we can explain it all over again.
Anyone?
All right, so for now, we'll go into a body meeting, so just so you can discuss with your country and with your body countries, what you think about this, and any more questions come up, and then we'll go to the floor again to questions. So the chair would like to entertain a motion to go into extended for 15 minutes to get started on this. Now I need someone's help for that. Entertain a motion to go into extended for 15 minutes.
Jesus Hernandez, IVSA USA, meeting number 47, I so move.
Second. Are there any objections to going into extended? Seeing none, we're at extended for 15 minutes. Please do not leave the room and take time to discuss. Continuing. All right, the GA would like to call the GA back in order at 9:58. UTC was a rally time and would like to recognize the presence of IVSA Peru, and then we'll complete again. So, yay! All right, so you've had some time to discuss with your buddies, and now we'll just continue and Tessa will hopefully answer some questions. So, are there any questions right now? Please raise your hand.
Mohana Marathi, IVSA India, bidding number 66. I have a question regarding in the new term of 2024-2025, which would be the month or the months in which we are supposed to pay the membership fee. And in addition to that, do you foresee there being a problem with the new excos and handover period of the MOs and how the new officials will learn to pay the fee on time and also do it in your planned schedule of the new month?
Tessa van Dijnen, IVSA Exco meeting number 7. Thanks for your question. Regarding the first question, the period at the moment we were starting using Members Portal, and we're planning to fully use that very soon. So the members, like whether your MO is active or not, goes through Members Portal. Your period in Members Portal that you will pay for is until August 31st. Yes, 31st. However, your Members Portal account will stay active for another 2 months. So that is until the end of October. That means that even if you don't pay yet, you still have access to all the Member Portal things. Me and the new treasurer will start in September with sending out invoices. And I know that some MOs still have like summer break in September, but they will also be doing that in October when they're not on summer break anymore. So they have 2 full months after September to pay it, to keep their Members Portal accounts continuously active. If they pay somewhere in November, then they will not be active in Members Portal for 1 or 2 weeks maybe. But they have like that 2-month period to pay it, which should be enough. And I think Anna wants to explain it.
Manda Lujic, IVSA Exco. Regarding the question about the transition, to be honest, I think this would be much easier because right now the treasurer does the membership fees on its own in the middle of the term. And sometimes it can be very hard, actually, usually it is, because you're doing it alone for the first time and you're very confused. That's the first problem. The second problem is that we are currently in this term receiving payments from the last term, and then the payments that were made this term, even though they were for last term, financially go for our term. So you see the confusion that it's made. If we move September to September, then we would know, okay, I'm starting my term fresh. I still have the support of post treasurer, because another thing is that usually we have Symposium December, January, and that's when the post treasurer gives their financial report, and then they no longer have anything to do with us. This way we would have still post treasurer to help treasurer do everything in the beginning of the term, and the new term would start kind of with a clean slate, if that makes sense, knowing, okay, who paid the last term, they're active, who didn't, they're inactive, and how to deal with it in their term. I hope that explained it a bit better.
Yes, so I think that explains your second question. Any other questions?
Okay, seeing none, we'll go back to the GA resolution. Which is this one. So, let me just get the full document again so we have the proper one in front of us. There we go. Zoom in again for everyone. Good old 200%. Okay, here we are. So,
So I move the GA resolution as is written on the screen. See.
thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any objections to approving the GA resolution as it's written right now? Seeing none, the GA resolution is passed. Then we'll move on with the bylaw amendments, as Tessa explained. I will zoom in again.
I move the bylaw amendment as is written on the screen for bylaw 11.5 membership term.
Is there any discussion on bylaw amendment 11.5? Scrolling down, please. Here is the change. Questions? All right. Are there any objections to approving bylaw 11.5 or membership term as is written right now? Seeing none, bylaw 11.5 passes. And we'll go to the last one of this set, which is bylaw 11.1.2.
I move to accept the proposed bylaw amendment 11.1.2 as is written on the screen.
Right, so motion on the floor is to approve 11.1.2 to basically approve the transition period as discussed previously for healthy for new MOs. Is there any discussion on the motion on the floor? And I'll scroll down again. There we go. Colors, helpful. Any discussion? Any objections to approving bylaw amendment 11.1.2 on the transition period? Seeing none, bylaw passes.
Thank you, this makes me very sure.
All right, that went smooth. Great going, guys. Okay, I will reply to my laptop in German, that's fine. Next point on the agenda is to go into a 10-minute break because the OC has prepared coffee and tea and snacks for you guys. So, I need to do my drink. Yes. Vanda just gave me more important information, so we'll go into a 10-minute break. We will stay in recess because we have a partner here from Asaba that will give us a presentation. We'll have a 10-minute break, go to the presentation, and then afterwards we'll have another 10-minute break. So, the chair would like to entertain a motion to go into recess.
Here I'm Johanna, I said I love meeting number 86. Yeah. I so
Are there any objections to going into recess? Seeing none, you're in recess. Quick announcement, sorry.
Okay, so I would just like to ask you to go into a break and be back at 10:20, 10:25, let's say 10:25, we're fine with time. And then we will have a presentation, and after presentation, we will again have break and have the opportunity to talk to our partner. We will introduce transfer in a few, like before the presentation, but please do not leave. That's the very important thing, to get back at 10:25. Thank you.
figure out this computer. This is part of my conversation we're going to have today about intergenerational teams. Means like people like me don't know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, with that interesting start. So I'm Dr. Nalinika Obesekar. I'm a clinician and private practitioner from Sri Lanka. I'm currently on the VSA board. For those of you who come from tiny little countries from far parts of the world, Sri Lanka is one of those. And again, the veterinary sector was not developed at all. Just when I started practice, and now it's 100 times better. And the companion animal sector is also growing like in many of your regions. So it's really nice to be here and see all of these faces from all parts of the world. IVSA, I think, is a really important organization for you. And the next step up, as I was talking to some of you guys out there, is going to be WSABA. So do please participate and join with us on that also. So this conversation we're going to have today is about intergenerational teams, and it's an important one. So why is it important? This problem about the generation gap is not something new. It's been there for generations since, when we were kids. We had that conflict with our university lecturers, with our parents, and that is something that has been happening. But it's only recently been understood that this gap that we are all talking about is actually really quite important for our clinical practices, for us to get along with our seniors, because most clinics will have all these, several of these generations represented, and all these people have different skills and knowledge and strong points, and also, more importantly, weaknesses. And if we don't understand that, we have realized that we have a lot of conflict in practice. So that's really where I'm coming from on this lecture. Also, maybe it's maybe more, I don't know, this is just what I'm thinking. It may be more pronounced now than in our generations, where the differences between me and my parents and me and my lecturers might have been less, simply because the world is changing so fast. Everything is developing so fast that I think the difference between one generation and the next is sometimes feels greater than it used to when we were kids. So just giving some quick definitions. A generation is a group of people born around the same time, but also raised in the same place, and you'll see later on that that's important. And this birth cohort actually exhibits similar characteristics, preferences, values that really last them most of their lifetimes. And we'll see whether you actually agree with that or not as we go forward. So generations exhibit similar characteristics, communication styles, the way they shop, their motivation, their preferences, and they experience similar trends at approximately the same life stage through similar channels. And that is also important, because if you look at social media being a channel of communication now, honestly, when I grew up, you had no clue about that stuff. We communicated only verbally. Phone calls, we didn't even have cell phones and TVs when I was a kid. That only came recently. So I'm dating myself here, but it's true. There was a stage when there were no cell phones and no TVs. So, those things do shape you. And you see these effects coming out more openly when you're adults. And this means that members of a particular generation will develop and share similar values, beliefs, and expectations, even though you are from many parts of the world. And at first, this may seem challenging for smooth cooperation, especially in clinics and in a practice setting, but these differences actually contribute to very complementary and balanced teams. So this variation is really important for good and strong teams. And that applies even beyond, and as many of you here know, it's not just a generational thing. It's also a cultural thing. It's also depending on what part of the country you come, where you grew up. all those things. The more variety and diversity you have, the stronger your team. And that is again something that's fairly new in terms of being recognized as something important for good teams. So there are three things that people focus on when it comes to things that shape the different generations: parenting, technology, and economics. And all of those are really quite important, including parenting, though we try to forget that. Our parents do have very significant influences in our lives that, whether we like it or not, are there. And that's just something we have to deal with. And then technology, as you know, definitely has a huge importance, and even economics. The generations that went through the Great Depression or big recessions or tough economic times just developed differently because of those experiences. So because of parenting being so important, I have put up a little bit about who gave birth to whom. So if you look at that, starting from the bottom up, the baby boomers, as we know, who were in the 55 to 64 years, or now 60, 69, 60, 70, these are going to be in your lives. They're going to be very, very seniors in practice. At board of director level, at ownership level, at that level you're going to encounter these people. Not that often, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time. But if you look at where they came from their parents were what they call the greatest generation, or the GI generation, which was, exposed to World War II, post-war, civil unrest, but also jazz music, swing, things like that. But that was my parents' generation, basically, if you're looking at it. And then if you look at Gen X, and this is a generation I'm going to really focus on, because this is your next up leadership, mostly. These are going to be your senior managers, your senior teachers, the staff that you're going to encounter. And really you need to understand them so that you can work comfortably, because they are very different from the new generations. And if you look at their parents, they were brought up by parents who were what we call the silent generation, that were working within the system. They didn't want to call attention to themselves, and they had this philosophy that kids were seen but not heard. So all of that will impact the kind of people they turned out to be. And then if you look at the more current generations, which are the millennials and Gen X, you have the millennials are important, because this is again something I'll bring up, and you can see whether some of you here identify yourself in that group or not, and whether you think these descriptions are in fact correct or not, because these are just fairly generic descriptions. But they came from the baby boomer generation, so those people were idealistic, ambitious, optimistic, and experienced a lot of social change. And again, so the Gen Zs, the really young kids now, who probably some of you are here, but they are kids of the Generation X and older millennials who are more independent, self-reliant, that kind of a person. So you see, as I go through this, the impact those things have on people. But having said that, and this is something you guys are well aware of, it's really important to know that on an individual level, everybody is different and everybody is an individual, and a lot of what I'm talking about are generalizations, and of course there are going to be exceptions to this, especially when it comes to geography. If you are born in a very different part of the world, actually a small island nation like, say, Sri Lanka, you're going to have very different environment in which you grew up in. And so you will see that. And then also, there might be big events that are local for you that affect your lifestyle, that doesn't necessarily affect other generations in different parts of the globe. And the really good example there, actually, in our current time, I think kids, just imagine the kids who are going through the war in Gaza or Ukraine, they are definitely going to be impacted by that. And when they are adults, their lives are going to have a component of whatever stress they dealt with at that time coming through. And that's not something you and I or the rest of us from different parts of the world are going to experience quite in the same way. So there is that variation. And also remember that when we deal with you when we see these kind of people, we tend to think of it, and a lot of your seniors you're working with will be like this, unless they've educated themselves not to be. But you tend to think of it, you as like we were when we were kids. So I think, when I was a kid, I did this, and when I was a young vet, I did that, and when, I worked night shifts 5 days in a row, so why can't you? And that tends to be just normal. That's just the way people think. And so when you encounter that, you just have to remember that, well, that's just normal. That's the way people think. And not get too stressed out about it, because you will encounter that. But understanding these differences is crucial for fostering respectful, inclusive, and diverse workplaces, as you know. So that is an important thing to know, that we do have to understand these things. It's also a two-way process. If the older generation is ignorant of this and don't understand your generation, then your generation can also have a strong impact in bridging that gap. And when we were at Rosava, Portugal, there were lectures, as some of you know, about Gen Zs and how, so that we can understand the next generation. But not everybody will have experienced that, or will know that they should in our generations, in the older generations, in Generation X. So if you are working with colleagues who have no clue about it and who still have the attitude that, well, I did this when I was a young vet, and so you should be able to do it, you can also help bridge that gap from your end by understanding where that generation comes from. So I'm actually doing the reverse here, which is talking more about Gen X, who are going to be your leaders, and how you should deal with them and what you can do to help it make it better. And I'll do a little bit about the millennials and Gen Zs, but I don't have to go up there because you know what that's all about from a first-hand perspective. So again, the baby boomers is, like I said, your senior leadership, and you will run into them still for another 5 years or so. You're probably going to run into them, and then after that, we're going to sort of disappear, so you won't have to worry about it. So if you look at the major events in their lives, they came through the 1960 counterculture. They saw increased social and economic equality. There was a lot of conflict based on politics, war, and social justice. And believe it or not, the main source of music was record players. And that was, that's all we had, was record players. We sort of, but we enjoyed doing. In fact, it's pretty neat stuff, record players. And then this also you won't believe, but we had computers that used punch cards. The first computer course I took in college, there's this huge thing inside the room, and we went in and we punched out cards, and it was actually there. It was reality, and not that long ago. Although again, I'm aging myself. And then we had typewriters. That's where I learned to type, is on a typewriter. So my touch typing is really fluent because I learned on a typewriter. And then they also participated in some of the greatest social changes in history. There was a higher standard of living, higher educational standards, and and social major changes like the Vietnam War, civil rights, women's rights movement. All of those started during that age. So all of those things are going to influence your senior team members. And the characteristics that this gave rise to were, of course, increased number of kids. That's why they were called baby boomers. They had lots of babies. And extremely different from their parents' generation, which was the silent generation. So they were idealistic, ambitious, optimistic, and experienced a lot of social change. And they wanted the best for their kids as a parenting style. They wanted to make sure their kids went to college as a priority, and they cared about their kids' perspectives and feelings, which was, again, quite a change. Though it didn't, to you it may not seem so, but it was quite a change from their early parents' generation. And I think the important thing here is, in my opinion, and I am a little biased, but I think my generation is actually a bit easier to work with than your immediate superiors are going to be, because the environment we came from was such that I think we're just a bit more chill. But unfortunately for you, you only have us for another few years, and then you have to deal with Generation X that is a tough generation to deal with. So, going to Generation X. And I am on the board of that, so I'm not really that. So this is what we call the MTV generation or latchkey kids. And it's interesting because the major events on their lives was the AIDS epidemic and MTV. They advanced to electronic typewriters. They actually had video games. And importantly, Title IX and the rise of women's and girls' rights was a really key thing in that generation. It only happened there, remember, so it wasn't that long ago. Many were heroes from 9/11. The internet was just starting, technology startups were starting, information ability was so still very limited sources, so not social media was not active. They depended on books and some amount of internet. And importantly, and this is really important, they had a lot of authority figures in their lives, from parents, teachers, superiors, religious leaders, and all played a really strong role in their lives. And they really were taught to follow this leadership and not talk back, not be argumentative, not be disruptive. And that's just where they came from. So respect for seniors was their foundation in terms of most of their relationships. And if you look at the characteristics this generated, most they were independent, self-reliant, adaptable to change, cared about work-life balance, but they didn't get to do it. They didn't really get to have a work-life balance. And they didn't really advocate for it either. They just, had a tough life in some ways. They're very skeptical, very entrepreneurial on the other side, and with a very no-nonsense, it's a real no-nonsense generation. So it's mainly focused on efficiency, tackles matters with a really down-to-earth, really business-like attitude. And importantly, these will be the most experienced employees in the workforce and the top tiers of many institutions. These are people you are going to spend a lot of time working with as young professionals. And it's something that if you really understand where they came from, it'll lead to a lot more comfort and a lot more collegiality because there will be a lot less conflict. You will understand why they are being the way they are, even though you may think it's a pain or unpleasant. You will at least understand why they are and be less, be more accepting and able to adapt to that. So this key thing that they are skeptical, entrepreneurial, that they have no-nonsense kind of attitude, and they believe in efficiency, they're very business-like, very down-to-earth, and absolutely none of this touchy-feely stuff. That's just who they are. So if you look at the parents instead, that's where it comes from. In terms of where they are sending it to the next generation, they do believe in good parenting. They focus a lot on learning how to be good parents, and they understand the importance of individualism and tend to support their children's choices. So you guys who came from them are actually the very young ones who are going to come from them in the future will benefit from that. They accept different lifestyle choices and things like that. Again, remember, this is sort of Western-centric because that's where the literature is. I think if you're from Asia, you still have this attitude that we love you, but I still wish you were a doctor. That's going to be there. And they are very involved with their kids' development. They are pioneers in this, and it's the start of breaking a lot of norms. So they make pretty decent parents, huh? Those of you who have parents in Generation X. And then this is more about them. They just focus on the middle column because the other two columns are basically the same. So the mental health improvement movement had just begun towards the end of their generation. So they actually grew up with, and it was really, again, accessible to them, like this balanced lifestyle. It came in, they knew about it, but they didn't really have an opportunity to enjoy. Same with the mental health issues. They just it came from the background of you just need to tough it out. They didn't have the opportunity to do beyond that. They knew that there were mental health issues, but their response to it was, hey, you just got to get tougher. And that's what they were born. So, but interestingly, the first registered therapy dog organization was during that time. And they do, interestingly, they really like to coach and teach. And they're very good at it in some ways. They have very extensive knowledge in our profession. These are your really well educated, high-end employees. But they have a more authoritarian approach rather than a co-creation kind of approach. So just remember that when you're in a clinic and you're learning from these guys, they do have that way of teaching, and that's just the way they are. Some will change, some like us will, and like you guys will follow these kinds of lectures and discussions, and they will try to change their style, but many others, especially in the more isolated parts of the world, definitely won't. So you might as well know about how they're going to be. And then this part I won't spend too much time on, but I will just give you some background. This is the first generation where childhood with the internet was there and social media was there. A lot of techno advancements, real-time media and real-time communication. The start of online socialization, and I don't know whether any of you remember Skype, but that was the height of Skype. And Facebook also at that time. They'd always known TV, cable TV, pagers, answering machines were being there. Laptop computers and video games start to become more important. They also experienced a lot of tragedies, high school shootings, 9/11, the Great Recession of 2008, and of course even as recently COVID-19. If you look at the characteristics it's created, they were tech-savvy, multitasking, had a lot more global awareness, as you are probably aware of that. But there was also this expectation of immediacy, or it to happen fast, quickly, what we would call instant gratification from our point of view. It's like a lot of my young kids. I mean, they graduate and they want a car and they want to have a house in 3 years, and man, that took us about 30. And I'm going back to making that mistake of saying, well, in our time, it took us 30 years to get a car, so why do you need one? So that is there. They value transparency. There were a lot of them had psychological problems, and therapy became more accepted and mainstream, and things like PTSD was accepted. So this is the first generation where therapy for psychological and behavioral diseases was accepted as being something that was okay, and that PTSD actually existed, and all of these problems were real things, not just in our imagination that you had to tough out. Not having work as the center of their lives. They were the initial advocates for this. This is the first time we saw that change where work was not the thing. And honestly speaking, that is a big change, because in my generation and Generation X, work is and was our lives. That's it. I mean, our whole life revolved around our work. And that is hard for those generations to deal with you guys. They're going to look and go, well, why isn't it? So that's something you're going to have to deal with in real time. They were driven by personal development and actively seek meaningful careers. They are more willing to voice their opinion, even when new to a workplace. And I'll bring this up before because that's another one. The fact that most of the younger generation are happy to speak up. It's a good thing in many ways, but it has also caused conflict because you're dealing with generations who didn't think young people should be happy to speak up. So that's there. And they are progressive, believe in social equality, diversity. If you look at the parents' kids' style, that's quite different. They are having fewer children, less likely to feel the need to be married to have children. Technology and social media are major influences as parents as well. And they are naturally freer parents compared to previously. And they tend to be open-minded parents with a variety of different parenting styles. So you will see much more variety coming out of that generation. Looking at Gen Z, who I presume many of you are, which is like scary, but okay. It's the first generation that grew up with the internet as a fact of life. And that is a huge change. immediate access to information and not knowing a world without email and mobile phones, experience COVID-19, inflation, cost of living increases, and educational debt. So those are the negatives that you guys did have to face. Similar to millennials in wanting a work-life balance, more in touch with their emotions, believe in self-expression, which is something that's again very new. It's a very, very, very new thing. So you guys should keep that in mind. This is not like something that's always been there. It's something that's just happened. Search for purpose and can experience burnout if you have forced to work hard without adequate purpose. So that's another important thing that has been recognized. Knowledge assimilation is different due to a lot of media-based learning, whereas again, previous generations used books a lot more. And the way knowledge is conveyed in books versus media is quite different. And the type of knowledge and the different angles to knowledge that you gain by reading books is also different. So there is a qualitative and quantitative difference in that method of education and learning. Hardworking yet competitive, leveraging AI to reduce work time. That's something also that I use with it. Okay. And their parenting style is yet to be seen. So you can think about it, and this information is available on social media as well, so you can access it. And it's see whether you think it's true, because a lot of the description of millennials and Gen Zs that you're going to see is about you. So, you can see, does it apply to you or not? And if so, to what extent, and to what extent does it not? So just giving you some tips, because as I said, Gen X is who you're going to work with. And really, they're not necessarily that easy, but they have a lot of positives coming through, starting with a huge amount of really good clinical knowledge, and also a huge interest in teaching, which is also an advantage. But they all don't, like I said, really believe that you should just jump up and express yourself. So when you do want to say something, just think really carefully before you do it, and make sure that you modulate how you ask questions so it doesn't seem like an attack, but rather is more like for your information and understanding, and then give suggestions. Because they are very sensitive to that. Just be aware of the generation that you're going to spend most of your time learning from, are a generation that does not believe necessarily that young people should jump up and ask whatever they feel like asking. That, and so just if you get negative feedback when you are like that, just take a step back and go, okay, I need to rephrase this and approach this conversation a bit differently, because they're feeling intimidated or feeling that they are being hostile. So that's what they feel. They feel you're being hostile, or you're being disrespectful, or you're being intimidated, when that may not be what you're trying to do. So just step back from that. Also remember, they are very independent workers. They came from what we call the latchkey children. In other words, it's the first generation where women were really, really working hard and working long hours. So a lot of times they would come home, go to school on their own, come home on their own, make their own food. We did that, in the morning we would have a quick cereal breakfast, help mom pack the lunch, go to school, come walk back on our own or take a bus back. We knew where the keys were. We'd open the door, we'd go in, we'd, ransack the kitchen and see what there was to eat, and, wait for our parents to come back by 8 o'clock or something. And they were not there to take us for this course and that class and this whatever event after school. If we had after school events, we just stayed on in school, or we didn't do them. So they came from that kind of a very independent generation. They became independent. They had to be independent to survive. So they may not want to work. So you might need to transfer. They want to work on their own. They have a project and they're just doing it, and they're not getting you guys involved in it, even though you would like to be involved. And that's just normal. So you need to then take steps to try and get yourself in there without being offensive, and understanding where they're coming from on that. And if you are, when it comes to social rights and being kind and all of those kinds of things, you do need to teach them, and you need to teach them in a very kind, sort of gentle way. Especially women's rights, you will run into a lot of older generation women, not just men, who will say something, and you go, oh man, you know, and that's, they may be just completely unconscious. I have a read in my practice who often says things like, when there's a conflict, oh, that's because we are a bunch of women. And I'm like, huh? And even for my generation, I go, huh, but your generation will go double high. You hear that, those kinds of things, and if you're going to correct them, which you should do, and it doesn't make their statements right, but remember where they come from, and you do need to help educate and modulate that. They're also results oriented, and this is another important thing. They will tell you maybe what they want you to do, but they may not explain the different steps that it takes to get there. They're just looking at the result. Okay, I want this done. And how you're going to do that, you may need to ask further questions like, okay, so now what do you want me to do? How do you expect me to get there? They tend to be hands-off managers, so ask them clearly to define their expectations. They just don't tend to be that involved in management on that level. They expect you to be independent and do your own thing and do it right and give them the results without much intervention. So if you want intervention, you need a little bit more guiding and hand-holding. You need to elicit that. You need to do the asking. They're not going to offer. They also didn't get a lot of praise growing up, so don't expect a lot of praise. If they do praise you, you've done an amazing job. But if they don't, that doesn't mean they're not good, it just means that they haven't got it. They're also skeptics. They grew up questioning everything, so expect them to be the devil's advocate, even if you have a really good idea and they say lots of negative things about it. It's not because they don't think it's a really good idea, it's just because that's what they do. They look at the negative things about it. So don't get discouraged when you run up with that, just stand back and go, okay, I get it, I'll fix these. But that doesn't mean my idea wasn't good in the first place. Also remember, when you do go into your workplaces, you really can't fix everything. There's going to be a lot of conflict and issues out there that you aren't happy with. But choose your battles and pick your fights, fix the ones that you think are really important. Try to understand where the others come from and go, yeah, it's not worth dealing with it, but I can handle it, kind of thing. So again, if you, especially if you want job security, it may seem hard to get, but it is possible if you go in with that kind of a more relaxed, sort of compromising attitude. And just as a summary and as a conclusion, each generation has important different characteristics that can positively affect our clinical environments and professional environments in general. Knowledge and skills can be passed efficiently between generations in both directions. So, for example, clinical experience, you can get like huge clinical experience from the older generation, years of working in practice. But they can also learn a hell of a lot from your digital generation and digital knowledge. And I must say that a lot of my younger colleagues are really considerate when dealing with my inability to do that stuff. They are very helpful and very patient, I would say. So by understanding these differences and committing to work across these bridges and gaps, you can contribute to working environments in which everyone can work together to clearly define goals. This requires flexibility and understanding from both sides, and it requires compromise from both sides, and that's what's important. It's never going to be a one-way street. So I'm offering you a challenge. Regardless of the level of understanding your senior colleagues have about these issues, and you will see a lot of variation there, as I said, take the initiative into your hands and push to bridge these gaps that will make our profession stronger, better and more resilient in facing the future effectively and proactively. The primary senior colleagues you will be working with are the baby boomers, but again, Generation X should be the focus, and baby boomers are easy anyway. It's important to know their characteristics so you can know what to expect when you join a practice. And in fact, these two groups are very different in their styles and complement each other well. You can and should use these attributes in your working environment to your advantage. So you guys are smart young folk, man. If the older guys don't know how to do it, you can figure it out. And with that, thank you very much for all being here. It's really been fun meeting you, and I look forward to having lots of fun.
Okay, so I'm Muhammad, IVSA Germany bidding number 58.
From where?
Yeah, this won't be a question, but this won't be a personal opinion of mine about this. This is a very important topic, I think, especially in math, because I'm from Jakarta, Germany, but I'm an international student coming from Indonesia. And in Asian culture, math is pretty much an obscure profession, right? This is a very soft way to say that. I think I got reminded of this one junior high school friend of mine who's also studying math in Germany, also Indonesian, and her parents were kind of like, yeah, we can study math, and I had to help her to make like PPT presentation with ML and web marketing about why math rocks and all of that. So. And yeah, and you also talk about parenting. This is also an important aspect because in Asian culture, it's not just the parents you have to satisfy. Like sometimes you have to satisfy the uncles and aunties. In my case, it was also like that. My parents were supportive, but the uncles and aunties. So yeah, thank you for the time and talking about this very important topic because like you have to bridge the generations too, and I think that the current generation can also take active like role in bridging the difference also in development, like why development is important and all of that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. A little bit of feedback on that because I know exactly where you're coming from, being from Sri Lanka. When I started, again I'm aging myself, but when I started practice, there was literally 3 small animal practices in the country, and 3 vets who did small animal medicine in the country. They were all single doctor, little hole in the wall places. There was nothing called a private practice as such. And there is now, just, couple of, just 20, 25 years later, we now have lots of huge, multi-doctor, very sophisticated veterinary practices in Sri Lanka. And I was talking to some of my Indian colleagues here to say that, the change in companion animal medicine in India is also been phenomenal. So even if you are still from a country like, say, East Timor or Nepal, where that hasn't happened, it will happen. So just hang in there, and you can be the change makers to make that happen. And it's getting there very rapidly. On the other side, with the aunts and uncles, I don't know if that's going to change that fast. You might just have to look at that one.
Yeah, so Lisa Brewer, IVSA Netherlands. Just to make that clear. Thank you so much for your presentation and also for like practical tips on how to deal with this in practice, because I think this is something we do not discuss badly enough, because this is so important to the way we communicate with each other. And I'm also kind of going to give an example from my life to illustrate this. I was calling with a friend from Ukraine that was visiting a family in Odessa, so a big city in Ukraine, for Christmas, and she had a hell of a journey to get there because of the war. And we were on the phone. She was like, "Yeah, maybe I lose my connection because there are air raids. But by the way, can I just complain about the holes in my socks?" And that was just like a moment for me that I realized, like, well, we're living through historical events, but we're still people at the end of the day. And then at the same time, like my parents are Generation X, and I'm graduating after Bali, this event. And then they told me, "Great, then you can finally learn a real profession now." Yeah. And at the same day, I had a talk with a colleague who's from the boomer generation. He was like, "Yeah, sometimes I don't get why you can be so negative about the future. Like, that's because you don't realize my perspective, like these kind of things that play." So I think it's so important that you mentioned that awareness needs to come from both sides. And I sometimes find it difficult to start that conversation because, especially for like the generation of my parents, it's super difficult to talk about those things. So do you have some advice for that maybe?
Yes, actually, I think if you, and that this information is now available, the more you understand someone else, the better you are able to communicate with them. Rather than from your perspective, you need to communicate from who they are rather than who you are. And that's one of the reasons there's so much difficulty in communicating with the younger generations, is because if each of us, even, I mean, in that, again, that era works both ways, are communicating from who we are rather than who the other person is. And it's imperative that in the professional space, we, as the older generation, learn about millennials and Generation Z, and you guys learn about where our generations come from. And if you don't do it both ways, you're really not going to be able to have much of a conversation, because the generations are very different. And also it results, I mean, although these generational stories and ideas are true to a certain extent, there are also lots of exceptions. And so it also leads to a lot of stereotypes. So, just being brutally honest, from a lot of my colleagues and younger generation people look at generation millennials and Generation Z and go, oh, man, they're flaky, they don't know how to work hard, they're not responsible, they, we feed it 15-hour days or 50-hour days or whatever, and they start fading after 6. And so you have these negative perceptions, which, and this, even the work-life balance, the Generation X had no work-life balance, man, they just have work, they don't have any life. And so when they look at you guys having a life, they're going to think, hey, man, that's not fair. Like, how come they're going and having fun and doing all these great stuff and having balanced lives? Then that's just not the way life is. That's not the way life should be. Life should not be that way. That's, in their opinion, life should be work. And if you're just playing around and going on trips and going on hikes and doing all these other things, you're a flake. You're not serious. You're not a serious person. And that's not necessarily true, as you know. And so if you want to fix those perceptions, you need to take an active role. And I will give you some other advice, and that is in line with responsibility. Because, the reality is this Generation X people created all these major, wonderful practices because they worked bloody hard to get there, and because they didn't have a life. And they've created that for your generation, you have the benefit of all of that. And when you are, it's not easy. Running a practice, I run a practice, I mean, it's really not easy. It does take a lot of effort, time, and energy, and everything else, frustration, tolerance, all of that. And so if you are working in those situations, do be really careful about the idea of responsibility. Responsibility really is important in a veterinary practice, no matter how much life you enjoy. I do have that problem, and this is, I'm being, again, really blunt and realistic about that because you guys can take it. But I have young vets who really are perceived as being irresponsible. And that's because the biggest problem that I'm facing at the moment is they will tell me the night before that I'm not coming to work tomorrow because something happened in my life. And I'm sure that whatever happened did happen. But when I'm told that just a few hours before a shift where we have a busy shift and we have patients already booked in, I can't deal. I can't fix that. It really has a negative impact in the clinic. And then that puts everybody on the back foot, and then everybody's irritated at that person for a week because everyone had a higher workload that day because we had to distribute the cases around. And even other things. I'll give you another example. Another one of my young vets was going to Singapore for a holiday, understandably, and although holidays are not understood by Generation X, but they were doing a holiday. And then we asked her to bring some meds from Singapore that we really needed for the clinic. And she came back and she brought only like one of the 4 things we were expecting. And she said, well, the place was too far from where I was staying and I didn't get it. Which is fine. Her not getting it is fine. And if it was fine, it was fine. I mean, yeah, she was on holiday, we can handle that. We don't expect her to do this. But she never told anybody along the way that she was not going to do it. So she came in, we expected to have this stock of medication, and we didn't. And we had taken no other steps to procure that medication. So we were just out of stock completely till now when I can come here and get it. Because in Sri Lanka, you don't get what you need. As you know, in many of your countries, I had to go and get this stuff from, source this stuff from elsewhere. So when anybody does travel, any of our guests go anywhere out, we try to get them to bring some stuff for us because we don't have it. And so if she didn't have to bring it, that is okay. I personally think she should have, but even if it was fun, but she didn't have to bring it. But she should have called and told the staff well in advance that, hey, this place is really far, I'm not going to have time, I'm not going to be able to do it. So remember that, don't expect it, because we had told a whole lot of clients, this will be available on this day, come and collect it, and then they come there and we don't have it. So things like that you might not think about when you are to work in a work environment are really important. So for a clinician and a vet, being responsible and really taking on when you say you're going to do something that you're really serious about doing it at the time you're doing it is really important. So you need no need to watch that. And there are other things, but I won't go into all of them. I think that's enough of an example.
Sorry. Yeah, I would like to thank you for your presentation once again. It was a great topic. I think everybody enjoyed it. And here's a small gift that actually our OC prepared for you. So, thank you. Should we take it here?
Are you taking it?
Yes.
Yeah, because you're.
Not that one. Not that. Close to my
Oh, yes.
My beautiful little laptop.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, as promised, now we will have a 10 more minute break, during which you can also talk to Nalinika if you have more questions. Also, she will be joining us in the afternoon on the trips. I'm not really sure which one, but we will communicate.
Reptile or bird.
Okay, so either reptile or bird park, so you will have the opportunity to talk to her even more. And yeah, okay. Yeah, please do. Yeah, see you back in 10 minutes and we are continuing with the GA.
Back to business. Righty, then the GA would like to call the chair would like to call GA to order at 11:30 UTC+8 filing time. Alright, so we're back everyone, and we're moving on with the agenda, which is, moving on with the agenda, did it correctly, which is point 36, the code of conduct, the core panel update. I'm gonna open some songs.
Hello, everyone. Vanuatu IVSA Expo video number 10. I'm giving now the code of conduct update. Just to explain it a bit better, during the beginning of this term, we received one complaint which we had to go through. So I will explain the whole procedure of what we did and yeah. So when we did receive a complaint, first what we needed to do is gather the core panel. So the core panel consists of me as the president and 3 more IVSA officials that are not part of executive committee and are not a part of trust. So I did kind of a small open call and we got 3 more officials. That is Susan, who is here with us, and you probably met him. Cristiana, who is unfortunately not with us, and Ariana as well. So that is the core panel. After we had the core panel, what we needed to do is first met with the complainant, and then after that met with the defendant to hear from the both sides on what is going on. Then after these 2 meetings, we had another meeting of the core panel only. So 4 of us met to discuss what the findings and everything, that all the information we received from both complainant and defendant side, and if there is any additional information that we gathered. After that, we had a meeting with both sides. The meeting with the both sides is not mandatory, so meaning that there is always an option that somebody else represents either complainant or defendant side if they do not understandable. However, this time we had both sides present to discuss it all over again in safe and neutral environment. After that, we had another meeting only of the core panel, so it was again only 4 of us because we needed to come up with a decision. So after we came up with a decision, we had to submit it for the expo to vote on it. In this meeting with the expo, so during the executive session, and I mentioned it yesterday, it was the beginning of this year, one other person from core panel had to be there because we don't want to be biased and we don't want just me to be there and explain the whole situation. It's better that we have somebody who, like somebody else. And also, it is always like when president explains something, people usually tend to go for their opinion, which is something we'd like to avoid, and that's why we have another person explaining it. And then we had the executive session. The expo voted on the decision we made, and they basically approved the vote. So I will just explain the decision. So we decided to do a temporary suspension of one of the member organizations. So the defendant member organization. The suspension will last until the end of the next IVSA Congress in Peru, so it's until 15th of August. The decision was accepted by the Executive Committee during the executive session on the 9th of January 2024, and the decision was accepted by defendant member organization. Therefore, we are not going to disclose any more details regarding this, because they accepted what we decided. Thank you for your attention. So, is there any questions regarding this? Okay, seeing none.
Thank you, Vanna. Go back to the regularly scheduled program. which is point 37, presentation and approval of the itinerary of the 72nd IVSA Congress in Denmark. And who's going to speak on that? Denmark.
You can see it all right,
Timo Valil, meeting number 8, IVSA Exco. So this year in July, we went to our 72nd IVSA Congress in Copenhagen, Denmark. Regarding the attendance, we had. Oh, So we had 123 delegates and 25 OT. Out of the 123 delegates, we had 19 official and 3 reduced fee delegates. And then we reduced fee spots and 101 people paid the full price. We had 31 countries out of 4 regions, so Asia, the Americas, MENA, and Europe were represented at the Congress. The highlights. So the final itinerary, we started on day 1, on day 0, with arrival of icebreakers. Then on Monday 24th, we had the opening ceremony, the campus tour, and our general assembly, and ending the evening with cultural evening. On day 2, we had our city tour, then GA, and optional night activity. On Wednesday 26th, we had educational streams, silent auction in the evening, and after silent auction, we went on a karaoke night. On Thursday 27, we had GA in the morning, then lectures in the afternoon, and the evening we ended the day with a pub crawl. And on Friday 28, we had GA in the morning, committee workshops in the afternoon, and we ended the evening with live auction. Going further, on Saturday 29, we had optional activity, where some group went to Roskilde, other went to Nijmegen Falster, and other went to Amager. Then in the evening we had Danish summer night, and we also went swimming in the canal while it was raining. It was raining a lot, sadly, during the summer. On Sunday 30th, we had the EO meeting during the day and lectures throughout the whole day. And in the evening, we had the optional night activity. Then on Monday 31st, we had GA, lectures, and hostel activities, or a lot of delegates went to sleep earlier that day. And on Tuesday 1st, we had practical workshops, international stands, formal evening, so formal dinner. We sadly didn't have formal dinner itself, but we had a formal party, which was really lovely. And then on the 3 last days, on Wednesday 2nd, we had GA in the morning, or last GA, the closing ceremony, and the white t-shirt party in the evening. And on Thursday, we had portraits of our delegates, and we had other delegates that went to the post-congress in Tisveld. So,
even this generation still struggles with technology.
sorry, the whole computer is lagging, so we need to wait a second.
I move to stand at ease for 3 minutes.
Actions. No, we're extending these for a few months. It's like, yes. Oh, yes.
what? We fixed it, so.
Because we have to stick to the rules. The chair calls the GA back to order at 11:41 UTC plus 8 Bali time. Now back to Timo.
Timo Vanilla is the exco bidding number 8. So we ended with the post-congress in this field, and I moved to approve the final itinerary. Does anyone have some questions? Objections?
Are there any questions? Again. Seeing none, are there any objections to approving the report from Denmark? Itinerary from Denmark? Seeing none, the itinerary from Denmark is approved.
To analyze the exco bidding number 8. Now we go to the financial report. So regarding the incoming for delegates fee, we are at 39,679. Sponsorship, 51,464. Then we have the 2 optional activities that were that delegates paid for. We had the third one, that was a free one, and then the CF tax at 3,097 euros. So the total income is 96,037 euros and 84 cents. Regarding the outgoing, we have housing, which was our hostel, the catering, utensils for food, the transport, formal dinner, so the rent of the place where we went to party, t-shirts, cultural evening, where the stand of the Danish OC was for 266 euros. Then we had the workshop expenses, CF taxes outgoing, and then the 2 optional activities. So the total outgoing was 94,724.61. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say all this one. So we have unexpected expenses, gifts for lectures, GA break snakes, and the interest incoming, outgoing, banking fees, sales tax. And then we end with the total outgoing of 94,724.61 euros. So without post-congress, they have a surplus of 1,313. And finally, I move to approve the financial report.
Maybe, I think you skipped over a point about what they done with the surplus.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. With the surplus, they are paying back to our student association. So they for their own, for IVSA Denmark, they are giving money for IVSA Denmark for hosting ICA.
Guys, wait, Jared will stick to the rules. I see IVSA Denmark has an extra comment, so go ahead, Emily.
Anne Barge, IVSA Denmark. So I just wanted to say that the student organization is the national student organization, and they donated, I think, maybe 60% of all of our income. So that is why we gave some of it back to them.
Thank you very much. So I move to approve the financial report.
Are there any questions? Are there any objections to approving the financial report of Denmark? Seeing none, the financial report for Denmark is now approved. All right, then we go to the next point of our agenda. Yes, which is presentation of Peru, which we call agenda point final fee of the 73rd IVSA Congress in Peru. That's also Timo. Timo, take it away.
Timo Vanel, IVSA Exco, meeting number 8. So this summer our congress will be in Peru, and it will happen from the 4th until the 15th of August 2024. The theme of the congress is embracing tradition and visioning the future, and our goal is to have 145 delegates. The itinerary, so everything will take place in Lima. As you can see, Lima is very beautiful. On day 0, we have arrival, so delegates arrive, and the evening we have dinner. This is on the 4th of August. Then day 1 is the opening day, so we'll have breakfast, transfer to university, opening ceremony, and a campus tour. Then we start with lectures and lunch. We have GA1 on day 1, and then in the evening we have to transfer to the hotel, where we'll have dinner and a welcome party. On day 2 is a cultural evening day. So we'll have breakfast in the morning and then transfer to university. We will have the second lectures, lunch, or GA2. Then we will have transfer to hotel, dinner, and in the evening we'll have our cultural evening. On day 3 is a day of silent auction. In the morning we have breakfast, transfer to university, lecture 3, lunch, then on third GA, transfer to the hotel, dinner, and silent auction in the evening. On day 4 is the EO meeting day. So in the morning, breakfast, and we go to university where we have our GA4. We go then to lunch, and in the afternoon we have first lectures, and then some people have to go to the EO meeting, the others will have a lecture, and in the evening we have transfer to the hotel and dinner. On day 5, it's tours and live auctions. So in the morning, breakfast, and we go to university for GA5. Then after GA5 we have lunch, and in the afternoon we have 3 city tours. There are 3 different options, as we are having today, for example. Then in the afternoon we have transfer to the hotel, we have dinner at the hotel and live auction. On day 6 we have practical workshops and international stands day. So breakfast, and we go to the university for the practical workshops. Then we'll have lunch, international stands, transfer to the hotel, and at the hotel cooking workshops, where there were different options to do the cooking workshops, and in the evening we'll have dinner. On day 7 we have nominee day. So breakfast go to the university, and then GA6 is fully nominee day. In the evening we are going back to the hotel to have dinner. Day 8 is technical visits day, where we'll have breakfast, and we will be transferred to 2 options for technical visits. It will be theory and tour. Then we have lunch. In the afternoon, we'll have the practical side of the technical visits. And then in the evening, we'll have transfer to the hotel and have dinner. Then on day 9 we have committees, workshops, and formal dinner. So breakfast, going to the university for having GA7. Lunch, then the committees workshop. Then in the evening, we're going back to the hotel where we have a bit of free time to prepare ourselves for formal dinner. And in the evening, we have formal dinner and then transfer back to the hotel after the formal dinner. And day 10 is our last day, our closing day. So we have breakfast, we go to the university where we have practical workshops, lunch, then GA8, transfer to the hotel in the evening, and in the evening we have our last party, the white t-shirt party. And on day 11, it's departures day. So in total, we have 31 hours of GA, 10 hours for lectures, 13 hours for leisure time, 10 hours for cultural activities, 15 hours for technical activities and workshops, and then 63 hours of IVSA mentoring agenda in total. So the university, we'll go to the University of Peruna, Cayetona Heredia. It's the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. It's the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine and Zootechnics. It was founded in 2000. It's located in San Martin de Porres district in Lima, and it has modern classrooms, practice rooms, a modern veterinary clinic, and laboratories for microbiology, parasitology, bacteriology, so on. They are also an experimental center in the Lurin district, which has cattle, sheep, alpacas, and corals dedicated to research and experimentation. If you want to know more about the university, you can see the Instagram or the website here on the slide. Then regarding accommodation, the accommodation will be in Celina, Miraflores, Lima, and Port. So we have two hostels next to each other, a bit in the same way that we're having here in the center of Lima. Then the important information about Peru, as you can see, the currency, $1 is 3.7 Peruvian sol, or €1 is 4.10 Peruvian sol. The OC will help you with currency exchange when you arrive in Peru. As credit and credit card are accepted, but it's highly advised to have cash money. Regarding the weather during the Congress, it will be 21 degrees, so it's recommended to bring a jacket because it's low percent of rain, but it's not as hot as here in Bali, for example. And regarding the time zone, the Congress will take place in UTC -5. Then regarding visa, I would advise you to just take your phone and do the QR code, as there are different options for visa. There are in total 3 options. You have a yes, you have no, but you have also a yes with some options coming with. So the OC made like a full visa list for you. So if you want to, you can always take the QR code now and check if you need a visa or not to enter Peru. Regarding the budget now, income, we will have in total 58.63 thousand euros and 60 cents income, adding everything together. Then regarding the outcome, the accommodation is in, the food, the transport will is not in the income, as you see it's at €0 because we're still managing with the university to get buses. If we don't get buses, then we will use we'll go by foot because it's 30 minutes by foot. Then the formal dinner is in the income. Then we have venues for events, which all our events are at the hotel, so everything is in the price of the hotel. That's why it's at €0. And then other costs, we have our delegates kit, and finally DCF tax. We have 5,230 euros, 5,230 euros in expected expenses, and so we go as an outcome a total of 57,352.46 euros. So at the moment, the final profit would be 1,251 euros from 14, but as you know, the event didn't take place yet, so they can always vary. So our Congress final fee would be 380 euros without central fund tax. Now it's post-Congress. I think Basti from Peru is going to, no, are you not? Okay, fine, I'm going to post-Congress. So for post-Congress will be from August 18th till 19th. And there are 2 options where you can go to the islands or to the Machu Picchu coast. Those are our options for post-Congress. And if you want to know more, about post-Congress, you can always take the QR code and everything will be explained there too. If you want to contact IVSA Peru's OC for the Congress, you can always mail them or send a text on Instagram. Follow them. They have a lovely Instagram. And thank you for listening.
Awesome. Also, the mascot, the very cute mascot here, is here. So don't forget to thank All right, then I'm moving on with the next point on the agenda, which is point 40, maximum fee for the 73rd IVSA Symposium in Morocco. Yes.
Mohammed Nabil and Happy by this in Morocco. Point of privilege, could I leave the GA hole for this point exactly?
Yeah, that's right. For personal reasons. So, like, you can do a point of privilege, for example, if you want to go to the toilet, but he has a valid reason that we know of, so that's why it's leaving the GA. Just to clarify. Right, so Vanna will be speaking on this point.
Okay. First, I will explain everything, and then we are going to open GA resolution. Yes, this is the second one today. Oh, first of all, Vanda Dučić, IVSA Exco, bidding number 10. So, we, as you know, a year prior to the event happening, we are having the presentation in which we are voting on the maximum fee OC can take in order for the event to happen. Of course, in the future they can lower it, but they don't have to. So this is done in coordination with us, but the OC's job is to provide us with the budget and itinerary, which needs to be solid in order to put it out to the GA. Unfortunately, we experienced some issues with this during the beginning of our term. So we did not receive finally the solid budget or itinerary that could be presented to you. This was discussed during our executive committee because we didn't know what would be the best way to vote about it, meaning that we didn't want to present the budget itinerary that is just not workable for you, not only for you, but for IVSA event taking place or the budget making sense. And we were also lacking information. Therefore, we came to a decision to propose a GA resolution, and I will now open the GA resolution and explain it once again. So, the GA resolution states that what we are asking from organizing committee of from IVSA Morocco is that first of all they need to sign the contract of the organizing committee of the IVSA Symposium before 1st of March. This contract is a standard thing we sign with all of our OCs. However, due to the lack of communication from their side, it still hasn't been signed, and it's really important for us to sign it. The second thing we are doing is, since we are not presenting it right now, and they did put some effort into making this event happen. However, we are still lacking information. We don't want to cut it completely. We decided to give them an extension, so to say. So we are asking IVSA Morocco to submit the itinerary and the budget to the executive committee for approval by 1st March 2024. So in a little bit more than a month. And the third thing is just to make you secure, because usually GA is the one who decides on the maximum fee. And looking at the past events, maximum fee rarely or basically never went above 400 euros. So just to make GA and our members feel more secure about it, IVSA Executive Committee will decide on the maximum fee that won't exceed this 400 euros. Of course, in our best interest is to have it as low as possible, but just to have you secure that we will not approve something that is 500 euros, for it to happen. The last important thing is, if the executive committee decides not to approve the submitted itinerary and budget, and the 73rd IVSA Symposium in Morocco will be held as a special general assembly. Just to keep in mind this, to make you also feel kind of secure, we will not just not approve something because for fun. We are really very serious and cautious about it, meaning that we will do everything that is in our power to make this event possible. Okay, now I explain this part. After I explained it, I move to approve the GA resolution on 73rd IVSA Symposium.
Are there any questions right now? Right. So this is a big position. So I am gonna go into the standards so you guys have some time to talk with each other and with buddies and see if you have any more questions you want to come up with. So Chair would like to entertain a motion to go into the standards for at least 10 minutes. Can someone help me with that? Diana Grossmann from IVSA Germany, bidding number 29.
I so move too.
Second. Thank you, guys. Are there any objections to going into studies? Seeing none without the studies, go talk to your buddies.
several different questions, and I'm very sorry I didn't explain earlier. And also a good point, if you are unsure, ask a question. I'm always happy to answer it like when we open for discussion. Regarding the FGA, what does it mean? It means that the symposium will still take place. We would do a new open call. The chances that the new MO will apply for it and do it in a short time period are low, but are not impossible. But if this doesn't happen, we are moving to an online symposium. So the symposium will still take place for sure. Does that make sense? Okay.
Right, you can continue discussing. back to order at 12:12 UTC plus 8 Bali time, and we will continue discussion with the GA resolution on the Symposium in Morocco. Is there any discussion right now? Please raise your hands. No discussion? Not from your side? Okay. Oh, there's.
Felix Metzger, based in Germany, being number 35. I would like to ask if the OC can't do everything you expect from them until the deadline, and you would like to reopen applications, when and where would you like to do it?
IVSA Exco, meeting number 10. So we will do an online open call like we do for all of the other things. It will be posted on our social media, on members portal, on the website, and you will definitely receive it in the bulletin as well. And MOC will inform MOs that we are doing that, like where we are doing the open call.
Right. Is there any other discussion? I think one was first, yeah.
Yes.
Hi, what if not getting number 37, IVSA USA? I think I'm just a little confused, and some of our members are a little confused. It feels like we don't really have that much information on what's going on. So if I remember in Denmark, there was like a full presentation, and there was budget, events, like it seemed like there was a lot of information already put together. So my first question is, when do you usually receive all this information? Like when should you have gotten everything from IVSA Morocco? Do you have any current information from them, or is there just nothing, no response, nothing? And I guess my other question is kind of like, is there another situation going on? You know, like there was an earthquake there. Is there something that we need to work on?
Want to let Vanda answer that?
Vanda Zucic, IVSA Exco, meeting number 10. So we, the deadline we've set this term was 1st of November for the presentations of all of the different OCs, because as you can see, there are different reports. We did need to approve different things and different budgets. So to have time for it, that's why we requested 1st of November, but we started the talks with them 3rd of September, I remember. And we didn't receive anything at that point. We then prolonged the deadline. Beginning of December, there was still nothing. Like there was the presentation, but it wasn't workable. And then we proceeded with meeting. During this meeting, we found many mistakes. The main one being having 17 hours of GA, which is not doable for the symposium. That was our main concern. And then it was also not workable for the elections, because based on our bylaws, we have some time restrictions on when everything needs to be done. So we worked on redoing the itinerary with them, and then based on that, the budget as well. However, we wanted to have with them another meeting, to which they did not show up. So finally, we got the presentation on the day of Exco meeting 2 days ago. We went through the presentation and we found many mistakes, like in the budget, in some places there was there was one amount of delegates, and then on the other places another amount of delegates. The accommodation was still not set. It was a rough estimation, so we felt like based on that, we cannot even vote on the maximum fee or move on. Like we didn't have a base that we could vote on the maximum fee and then fix these other things in the meantime, and that's why we decided this. The second question is regarding the earthquake. We are in close contact with Morocco in general. Me personally with our HLM Mehdi. So even though the things are not perfect, this was not the cause of this decision. I think that was all questions. I hope that I answered them.
Right, is there any other discussion?
Dusty Ponce, IVSA Peru, reading number 89. Does that limit of 400 euros include the post-congress or post-symposium?
Wanda?
Wanda Lucic, IVSA Exco, reading number 10. No, it's not. And can I add one more thing? Yeah, I think it's really important to say that this decision also kind of came from their side as well. This wasn't one-sided decision. Just, I think it helps a lot.
Is there any other discussion? Right, then we go back to discussing the resolution as a whole. Is there any other discussion? What has been discussed already? Are there any objections to approving the GA resolution as written right now? Seeing none, resolution has passed, and we will be in close contact with IVSA Morocco on the progress of the situation. All right, then maybe someone can ask Nabil to come back in. Yes, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into a short recess of 10 minutes. I'm just looking at the VOD. Will you be selling merchandise? Nothing more merchandise there. So, Chair would like to entertain a motion to go into recess for 10 minutes.
Ryan Square, IVS India, break number 77, ISO.
Are there any objections to going into recess right now? Seeing none, you are in recess. Go refill on coffee, tea, and water. like to call the GA back to order at 12:35 UTC plus 8 Bali time, and we'll pick up where we left up. We'll move on with GA1 onwards, so where we finished yesterday, and as you might remember, we were talking about committees, and then unfortunately we ran out of time. So we're going to move on with the update on the Standing Committee on Wellness. So, Suzanne, please.
Suzanne Matrike, IVSA Exco. So as I mentioned already yesterday, because of the health issues of our chair of Standing Committee on Wellness, we don't have a report presentation.
Okay, thank you, Susanna. Then I'll move on with the next point on the agenda, which is update of the Standing Committee on Career Attributes. Where is Susan? Where is Susan? Oh, yes. No, I'm looking for Susan. Afish, please.
No, it is outside.
Yes, he needs to present. How could we miss Susan? He's always here. Okay, perfect. Susan! Great. No problem. All right, can you come up here because it's time for your presentation. Right. You're presenting. You're presenting. It's showtime, Susan. Come on. So.
Susan Adar, IVSA Nepal, building number 86. So first of all, hi everyone, and sorry for being delayed. So I'm just going to take you through the activities that I have done. So you know that I have been appointed as a chairperson of Standing Committee on Career Attributes, and we have done some of the activities that I'm going to present over here. So this is our logo. If you haven't followed us, just please follow us on Instagram, because I'm like I want to have many people to reach out to us. So what do? We provide IVSA members with a tool to improve the professionalism and soft skills. We are the committees that focus on the soft skills, and we are trying to develop the career attributes. ISCOCA aims to complement veterinary education with opportunities to improve career attributes to follow for the successful future career in veterinary medicines for all veterinary students worldwide. So we have some of the amazing projects that are ongoing. The first one is ISCOCA workshops and webinar. We are trying to organize every month a workshops or a webinar which are practical that you can implement, and we are trying to provide you with tutorial guides how you can do that in a specific topic. Like we have done one how to write a research paper, and we have done how you can log in into the members portal. We have done using the PRC team. We have done workshop on Canva training for every journal members. And another project is we are doing workshops and webinar for officials. So there are a lot of things that officials need to know whenever we are starting the tenure. So when I started tenure, I wasn't aware about most of the activities, and that I am aware. So that's why we are providing trainings for every officials, and this training involves the tools and techniques that we might be using, and that might be the useful suiting IVSA, which involves like a Canva training, and there was the training for ClickUp by Banda, and others are the ISCOCA skill card. So I have already mentioned that we are the committees that focus on skills, and we are trying to provide you a guideline. If you want to develop some skills, then okay, you can just follow that. So we are just trying to post a skill card twice a month, focusing on a specific skills. Although it hasn't been started, but we are really working hard to have a we have trainers network which was established in July 2016 before IVSA ISCOCA was established. It is working to improve professionalism within IVSA and enable its student to develop soft skills. And also we are trying to utilize the IVSA members to train other fellows. And another is ISKOKA blog. Here is the link, you can access that. This blog was prepared by IVSA ISKOKA, and I haven't done a lot within this, but I have added some of the content over it, so you can just go through it. And if you have any suggestions, we are always welcome. And another is ISKOKA and ISKOBI Veterinary Profession Podcast. You can access that in the YouTube. And in this, from career side, we are focusing what it is like to be a veterinarian working in the various career sectors, and we are trying to explore the different career paths so that after graduate you can try on some. And the future project are training new trainees event. Although IVS ISKOKA was planning to do this for a long time, but we weren't able to succeed. And right now we are in contact with some of the other trainers from IAS, and we are going to have this in a near futures. And then another is ISKOKA survey. So my teams and we are planning to have this survey open before the symposium, but due to some reasons we are not able to do that. Just we are trying to do this survey so that we have to learn about the career setting. Like I have seen most of the people setting their careers after, even though they have a veterinarian degree. So we are just keen to learn about that and want to gain experience from that. So we just came up with this topic, and it will be published soon. So if you want to contact us, here is email ID iskoka@ivsa.org. Also, you can follow us in the LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and also in the members portal. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Don't see any right now, but obviously you recognize Susan, so you know where to find me for any more questions. Thank you, guys. All right, that means I'm moving on with my presentation to the next slide, which is networks updates. Because aside from committees, we have networks, and the first one is alumni update. Back to Susanna.
So I'm Rebecca at IVSA Expo. So I'm here again to give you a little bit update about Alumni Network and what they already did. So right now we are working on a few of the projects like Alumni Test Presentation, Quiz, Younger Toolkit, Mentor Mentee Program, and also, as Sunan already mentioned, how to write a scientific paper with Scotland. So to give you a brief explanation, Alumni Test Presentation is, there are like clinical cases that alumni is dealing daily in their job practice, and they are just sharing their experience with other alumni, but also other IVSA members. And this is already a project we started like years ago, and they just continue with this. And they've already did an open call for this term, so you can. We are going to have alumni case presentation very, very soon. So I really recommend for you to follow them on Instagram and just seek for the new case presentation, because I think it's also very useful for us, because we can learn a little bit from like hands-on experience of other people, not only from lectures and classes. And also, if you would like to already test your knowledge in like practical field, you can access on Instagram alumni quiz. They are just making a lot of interesting questions regarding like the work itself already and different cases, and you can just test your knowledge on the Instagram. And this project they started this term, so this is new, and it's a fun way to check your knowledge. And basically, they are getting a lot of good responses from people, so the feedback is very good. So if you're interested, I really recommend to go on Instagram and do a quiz. And the project, which is still ongoing and it's still in the making, it's a young blood toolkit. And this is project with collaboration with almost all of our committees, because as you can see, it's SCO, ISKOKA, and SCO. And this project serves to equip all young veterinary graduates with the necessary tools from different fields. As you can see, from wellness, from career attributes, but also from veterinary education, because alumni networks also should be and it is about like continued education because we still after our graduation should learn new things. And as you can see from the SCOBY part, they are planning to work on the day one competency skills. They are also going to use veterinary professional map about which Mohammed talked yesterday, and they are planning to use different equipment SCOBY is having. From SCOGA side, as obvious, they would like to use soft skills and continuous professional development, and from wellness, they would like to implement wellness and mental health of our graduated students, but also require students to work on that and to prepare all of us for our future work. Mentor-mentee program, this is a program which was started 2 years ago, and basically the main idea of this is that that this is a project done in collaboration with Wellness Committee, and we are like connecting one alumni member with one student member, and the alumni member is mentor for this student, and student is a mentee. So basically, all the students can apply, for course, for this program, and basically, this program it depends a lot of what you guys need because it's very like personal one project. So of course, mentors and mentee they're going to be connected to each other based on the Google Form and based on the expectation both sides are having, and alumni members can share experience, provide guidelines and feedback as well, whatever guys you need. And as I said, this project was already done in the past. Right now we are working, but as you can already can see that we're having some kind of health issues inside the Wellness Committee. That's why we are going to start it after Symposium. And this is something what Susan already mentioned, so I'm not going to focus on that. They had a collaboration project on how to write scientific papers, and I think it's nice because it was a webinar made by our alumni member. And what they are planning is to do a podcast in collaboration with SCOGI and SCOGA, and because they are thinking that podcast is a very easy to approach way to educate and also to contact chosen audience, because basically we can listen to podcasts everywhere. So it's easy to access for everyone, and they already prepare a list of potential speakers, and they are going to contact them and move forward with this project after the Symposium as well. And of course, yeah, this is future project, but it's a little bit ongoing because we are thinking about implementing inside our case presentations Basava, and we are planning to have like the experienced speaker from Basava side as an expert. So I think it's giving a lot of more value to the case presentation because we are going to have both sides of experience from alumni member, but also from expert in this field already. And yeah, that's basically it when we are talking about projects. And they are also working a lot on external relations. You can see the companies and partners they are working and try to work with. I'm not going to focus on that, but you can see. And when we are talking about events, today is the arrival day of our alumni members from alumni event in Bali. So yeah, and thank you for your time. Here you can see the amazing team of Alumni Network. On the right side, in the corner, you can see Gabriela, the chair. And yeah, thank you for your attention. And do you have any questions to me?
Seeing none. We move on with the next point on the agenda, which is Equine Network update. Who's going to speak on that?
No, Luna.
Equine Network update.
Luna.
Yeah, before.
Yeah, because she's a part of us.
Oh, got it now.
Oh.
Right, we found Luna! Yay! Time for Equine Network report.
Okay.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Luna. I am from IVSA Indonesia and currently as the chair of Equine Network. Sorry. Okay, here's the new logo that we make. So, as you all know, the unit of our network is we got the theme of the month. We've got from January until August, we've got different theme. Like January we have the production, and this theme of the month will be, we will upload the content and webinars regarding the month topics. So what we already do is we already do rebranding, the new logo that you see at the first slide, and then new color palette, and then new standard for posting, and then for the social media, we've upgraded the LinkedIn, we updated the LinkedIn and official Facebook pages, but we're still ongoing. And then after that, IVSA website and members portal. So this is the event that we already conduct, which is at the 15th until 19th October, we have first Equine conference in Morocco, but Natal will be presented in details. And then at 29th of November, we have our first journal club meeting. It's regarding laminitis. And then at 21st January, we have, which is a few days, will be conduct its symposium workshop with Pathology Network. And then this is the external relation, which is the FAT PD, but we still didn't update it regarding the next MOU for this year. But we already did the FAT PD panel discussion. And then for the hierarchy, we still didn't update the next meeting, but at the first meeting we discussed regarding the webinars collaboration and then education content collaboration. Hierarchy is an organization based in Estonian, which is Equine Veterinary too. And then for the next one is Equine Network with IVSA Europe. It's EVA, which is the fund that told you guys before. It's regarding the working group. And then this is our content uploaded for equine nutrition. And this one is our documentation regarding the journal club meeting, and then our content. So for for last year, like 2023, we didn't do much, but we've got a lot of upcoming events in this year, which is we will have online webinars at February. We have sport medicine, but we still fix it. And then for March, dermatology and cardiology. And for online exchange sharing and have fun, we still like finding the fixed name for it because it's so long. But it will be like we can share infectious disease in each country or breed from each country. So yeah. And then the next one is case discussion. It will be 2 times, and it's maybe we will conduct it in June and July. And the book or journal club meeting, we proposed it 2 times, but we already did it in November, so we have next one in May. And the flash card, quizzes, and bread of the month, all this content education will be post monthly. And regarding the collaboration, after we fix the topics, we will maybe like collaborate with another standing committees or networks. So that's all. This is my team, which is we have Minaski as our our project and event managers. And yes, thank you.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, we now know where to find Luna. All right, so unfortunately we are out of time for this GA, so to be continued, the chair would like to entertain a motion to adjourn this GA. Oh, please. Entertain a motion to adjourn this GA?
Jesus Hernandez, IVSA USA, bidding number 47, I so move.
All right, perfect. Are there any objections to adjourning this GA? Seeing none, we finish this GA, but do not move, because obviously there are announcements.